I'll start by doing an opening with an invocation and a pledge of allegiance. Keith, do you mind doing the invocation and then we'll do the pledge of allegiance?
Bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today with grateful hearts, seeking your guidance and wisdom in our work. As we gather to make decisions on behalf of this community, we ask that you grant us the discernment to act in a manner that is just, fair, and in alignment with your will. Help us to be faithful stewards of the responsibilities entrusted to us. Give us the strength to listen with open hearts and the courage to do what's right for all, especially those who rely on our leadership and care. Lord, may our actions reflect the love and compassion you have shown us, and may we serve our constituents with humility, grace, and integrity. We ask for your blessings upon this meeting, that we may honor you and benefit those we are called to serve. In your name we pray.
Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to these Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, everyone. Any comments from the public? Okay. President and director comments?
No.
Okay. This one. Consider and act upon requests for adjustments to or relief from the specific charges imposed by the district. Okay, thank you. All right, consent agenda. Take a minute to review it, and then we'll get a motion to approve the consent agenda 6 through 9, please. Anything anyone like to pull out?
No.
I'm good. All right. Can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda 6 through 9, please?
Make a motion to accept.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Thank you very much. Regular agenda number 10, review the district's draft fiscal year 2025-2026 operating budget and recommended water rate structure. All right. My favorite times of the year. Let's do it.
We have 2 items here, and then also make sure you got this map and this other.
Yeah.
With you too, because we're gonna kind of go back. And forth. But we'll start with the budget.
Yeah.
The one pager key from DAC, it has some general information on how the budget comes together. And then the third thing is the budget itself, the proposed budget. And, on the front side, you have revenue and then general operating expenses for WWA, your share of those on the front. The big things that I want to point out are on the back. So you turn to the tan page. Those are called purchase services. Those are the fixing breaks, fixing ditches, all the work we do day in, day out on your water, sewer, and drainage facilities. So as you can see in there, there's some significant changes from last year's budget on a couple line items. Before I get into that, we'll turn to this map and the other 2 pages that I was talking about, and it'll make more sense when we get back to the budget. So as we've been discussing for the last 8 or 9 months, we've been doing an evaluation of all of the ditches across the entire Woodlands. This map shows the results of each of those dots is a point of interest or an asset. So it could be a ditch, it could be an interceptor pipe, storm sewer pipe, could be a drop structure, concrete structures, could be siltation, vegetative overgrowth, things that we observed in the actual ditches. We put each of those assets into kind of a condition rating class from 0 to 3. We are gonna change the colors because green does not indicate good. It was just a one. So we're gonna change the gray to green and.
Yeah, I didn't know if zero meant worst. Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, yeah, and I've kind of summarized that here, but I'll just go through that with you. Gray was basically, we've documented the asset. It's in great shape. There's really nothing to look at right now.
Okay.
One is that it is showing signs of deterioration and it'll be a point of interest that we'll monitor in the future. Two is it's progressed beyond that. It's starting to disintegrate, perhaps, let's say a pipe. But it's not something that we really need to deal with immediately. There's no immediate sinkhole or collapses or anything, and we probably have some time. So that could be 5 years, 2 years, 10 years, it's something that we're gonna, once we get the 3s done, the 2s are gonna be, as we, work through the ditches throughout the next few years, those will be items we'll look a little bit closer at, see what they progress, see how fast they progress to 3s. And then 3s are items that need immediate attention. That would be a pipe that's disintegrated, or there's an active sinkhole going on, or there's excessive siltation, or overgrowth has grown over into the ditch where we can't really run the maintenance farms because the trees are grown over. So that's kind of what all these dots mean. There's about 1,700 asset points that we collected over this program. As a result of that, we took, if you look at the this sheet, you can see 49 really is looking pretty good. As far as the piping goes, we'll have a lot of piping with 2 storm sewers that we identified. And then the backfill interceptors look pretty good. Obviously, we've got the bigger project or the bigger problem, I should say. I did not put that in here. What we did is when we go back to this, I'll show you. We put some engineering into this to further assess what we're going to need to do there and timing and get better cost estimates and things like that. So, and then the reason I put TBD on the overgrowth, tree overgrowth, is I realized that we didn't capture that the turn down along Glen Eagles. So we're gonna grab that. Now there's some clearing that we're gonna do there.
But turn down.
Actually, when the ditch turns
Okay.
down toward and it starts going north-south or goes south
Okay.
towards the Glen Eagles area to the RVs.
So it's not that we don't have overgrowth. It's,
Right.
we just don't know
There wasn't a
the
whole
linear
lot.
feet. Yeah.
Right, there wasn't a whole lot. I need to shore that number
Fair
up.
enough.
It won't be significant. And so to deal with all of this across the muds, there's a couple ways that we'll handle it. One is we're going to hire a crew that we're going to designate specifically to ditches across the woodlands going forward. And as well as purchasing the equipment necessary to handle a good bit of this stuff. A mini excavator, skid steer, chipper, truck and trailer, that all the mud would share in that expense. That equipment and that crew will not be capable of doing some of the bigger things. So they're gonna handle some of the lighter stuff. We typically don't have the equipment to deal with large diameter pipes, 24 and up, all these, but so storm sewers on that line item, storm sewers are typically anywhere from 24 to 72 or bigger. And then the backslop interceptors are usually 18s or 24s. And they could be 20 feet deep, they could be, 5 feet deep, just kind of depends on the situation. The deeper we go, the less we can do. Because we just, I'm not proposing to buy a level of equipment to do some of that bigger work. And we already have contractors that we go to every day to do that type of stuff. They got the equipment, we got good pricing from them. So kind of tackle those as we go, while our crews are also tackling all the other things that we can do. So,
So the excavator that you're talking about, we're talking about like a mini, 10 tons or less or something. So that's like for smaller guns.
right. It's, more in the $40,000 to $50,000 range versus an excavator that would probably be necessary would be in the $200,000-300,000 range.
Yeah.
So we're not, and much different equipment to move it from site to site as far as trucks and trailers. So weren't looking to get into that investment. Because we do have a good go-to contractor that we use on repairs and the, failed stuff.
So this is a net where we're investing as opposed to outsourcing all of
It's
this.
both. Yeah, it's a little bit of both.
Right, but we're bringing it in-house is what you're saying. We're going to invest and take ownership of this with the lighter touch work.
And then going forward, once we get all the threes done and do all the stuff we can do, years going forward, we'll then keep those crews on the ditches and build kind of a maintenance program so that some of these things don't
Proactive.
get back to where they are right now.
Okay.
And I think that'll lessen the cost long term. For dealing with bigger stuff, we can keep it small every year.
So the analysis is basically you've come to the point that the decision is that having the people owning the equipment and all that is cheaper than continuing to contract out to a third party all the time. And there's enough work to keep them busy.
Yes,
You're confident in that.
yes.
On the grading, on the 0 to 3, I understand it, but I was just curious what the thought was just to kind of align to the Corolla plan. Because their severity, number 1 was most severe, and number 1 here is like least severe. So I was just curious if we could potentially like align those two since they're kind of on the same.
It's sanitary sewer. It's kind of apples and oranges.
Right. I mean, I was just curious. I mean, because in that scale, we're thinking 1 is worse. Here we're thinking 3 is worse. So I just wasn't sure if we needed to keep with a certain mindset or because it's just a different type of water that we can just flip flop. I get one's dirty water, one's clean water, but it just seemed a little confusing. So never mind.
One more question. So is there any way to see a zoomed in?
Yeah, I did mention that. So we finished all the ditch evaluations just a couple of weeks ago in time for me to at least get some numbers put into these budgets. So for what's coming is we're going to build a more summary report that's going to have, for every one of these dots, there's anywhere from probably 5 or 6 pictures in some cases. So we'll be able to kind of zoom in, do a booklet probably for each district. These maps will kind of blow up and then you'll get to see it on a small scale just for the purposes and time that we had in order to get the numbers for you. This was what we could get accomplished.
Yeah, that would be really helpful just to be able to communicate back to the people about what's coming and what the prioritization is.
For sure. One thing I'll note, and there's a few typos on the budget, but back on the TAN portion, on 5300.03, I didn't mention it there, but in addition to rate study, which we did a couple years ago, we're going to renew that. And then emergency response plan, that has to be renewed every 5 years. That's this year. What I didn't mention is the ditch evaluation on that bigger item. So there's money in this line item for the engineers to look a little bit closer at that,
The 133.
the area at the top northeast corner of the district where it ties into the Sanjak. That's where there's a pretty significant issue.
And is that different from, when you talk about engineering for that versus the line item 53.112, the large ditch repair? So
Yeah, that's not in there because there's no monies in this to do any construction related to it. So
I'm just being off of the triple digit percentage increase year over year, it's, from 16 to 31. So what is that budget line item when we say large ditch repair, the 31 grand?
So that'll be some of that overgrowth
Uh-huh.
on the large ditch because you didn't have a whole lot of other issues on the ditches. Backslope interceptors would be in there, but you had 0 on your list.
Okay.
So, and then 3 items down, storm sewer repair, where that went up from 51 to, has both of those storm sewer both of these storm sewer outfall repairs on it. Those two.
I'm reading this right, where you have 0 for backslip, and you're saying that currently on the evaluation, we don't have to do any repairs on
Backslip interceptor pipes, yes.
Okay.
And that made sense because, you know, the community in that ditch is 25 years old.
We're relatively new.
Right. A lot newer than some of
It's like
the.
can specifically picture one of them that where the backslope interceptor is on the ditch side, and it's got a concrete slab around it. All of that's been washed out.
That's an outfall. Yeah, that's one of the outfalls.
That's an outfall. So that's not so the pipe itself is fine. It's just a washout around the pipe. And so that's that has a different category of repair, and that's why we still show 0 for backslope interceptors that need to be redone.
Right. So storm sewers are pipes that serve the inlets in the streets, the water that, you know, falls in the community.
Yeah.
Goes into the inlets and then makes its way to the ditch.
Okay.
And so the storm sewer outfall is the pipe. If you just looked at 2 pipes sticking through the ditch, you might not realize the difference between the two
Yeah.
versus other than maybe size. But yeah, that's one of the storm sewer outfall, one of those 2 storm sewer outfalls.
Okay.
So storm sewer comes from the community, and then an interceptor pipe would be one that actually starts up on the top bank of the ditch.
Yep.
So, you know, as you walk, you see these little V concrete structures. Those are interceptor swales. That's an interceptor swell, an interceptor structure and pipe. It's just taking water off the top of the ditch and making sure that it doesn't roll over the top of bank. That's the intention of it. So it doesn't erode the top of the top edge of the bank.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why those are there.
Were you adding any additional, was there plans to add additional backslope interceptors? Because there was a couple of spots where there's a big washout kind of closer to that back corner. And I don't know if that would have been prevented by a backslope interceptor.
Yeah, that big washout there, just need to look at that a little bit closer. I'm intending that be looked at as part of the bigger piece just beside that. Because I think we're getting a lot of water off of that kind of swampy land. And it looks like it's coming right through that corner right there, or right where in that washout. So it may be that we may need to put one in there at that point. I don't know if that's the solution or not, but I'd work with the engineers to make sure that that's the right choice for that. But you're right. I think it's coming from that kind of swampy land. And it just rolls over the edge. It's not supposed to. Let's see.
So we had a number of people back there in the last couple of weeks with pickup trucks, and was that part of surveys and work that you had out there, or you?
I don't know who was out there. We weren't specifically.
I want to say that, yeah, there was a crew of pickup trucks, and they looked like they didn't look like trespassers or people four-wheeling back there. I didn't know who commissioned. I didn't know if you commissioned any worker studies to be back there.
No, when we went out there, there was I can't remember who they were. Was it Power or Gas that we figured they were? There was. You know, some stuff back there when we went out there. So it might be that, I don't know.
Keith, one thing I wanted to note real quick is you were talking about the washout around the pipes and stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you're seeing that, it's highly possible we might have prioritized those as a 1 or a 2 or issued an in-house work order, just depending on the degree. So what Eric's presenting today, those are the 3s that are in the budget this fiscal year. So if you are seeing washout around pipes and stuff, it is documented, but it's a lower priority most likely because the pipe isn't failing. It doesn't mean that we don't need to get out there, but it's probably just a lower priority.
I think that's why I was asking about the zoom in, because I see more than 2 red dots here in 39. So so there's a lot of red dots here that are 3s. And so just want to have an appreciation for what they are.
Siltation and overgrowth are the other possible reasons.
Okay.
And the big ones in the corner are that project.
Okay. Understood.
But yeah, it'll be blown up.
Fair enough. Perfect.
This will show the structure type, so you'll be able to decipher if it's a drop structure, if it's a back slope interceptor, now whatever the structures are, you'll be able to tell that they are.
Good.
That's
I-
great.
I think the important thing to Chris's point is we need to know what they are and not just assume they're one of three. So awesome. So that is a review. Any additional questions or concerns?
Yeah, no approval today. We'll approve the budget next month, so certainly if any questions come up, let us know and we'll finalize it for next month.
Thank you, Eric. All right, number 11, review the financial advisor's recommendation concerning the district's proposed 2025 tax rate, determine the intended tax rate and authorize A, the required notice that the board will consider adoption of a tax rate, and B, the means to providing such notice. All right, sir, your turn.
Good afternoon. And on page 15, you should have a letter, looks like this. And just to remind you, the tax rate setting process is a two-step process. So all you're doing today is authorizing publication of your total tax rate. Next month, you will hold your public hearing and then you'll close and then adopt that tax rate and break out the pennies between maintenance and operations and debt service. You always want to consider publishing the highest rate you'll consider because you can always come down from it next month. You just can't go up without republishing. So just keep that in mind. So if you look at the letter on the front page, assumption number 1, you have the 2025 taxable value that is certified as of January 1 of 862.5 million. That's a 7% increase over last year's 805.7 million. If you flip past the first page, this is your outstanding debt profile, principal and interest. Last year, you levied 16 cents to pay your outstanding principal and interest. If you look in that middle column, second line, 14.5 cents is what you need this year. But if you look beyond that, just below the 14.5, and sorry, it's so small, you do have a debt cliff. So you see it drops from 14.5 cents to 5.5 cents after this year. So for your 2027 budget, you'll have a big decision to make next year on how you want to manage those pennies. If you want to move quite a few of them over to maintenance and operations to help beef up your surplus and pay for projects out of cash, you can do that in lieu of, dropping all of them off of your tax rolls. You'll have a bigger decision next year how you want to manage that. So just keep that in mind.
So when you're saying whenever we have this decision this
Next year.
time next year,
Correct.
we will then get to decide, do we
You'll have
keep
about
it?
9 additional pennies. There may be even more if there's additional appreciation.
Great.
So, and that translates, and you'll see on the next page, a value of a penny is about 84,000. So it's about $750,000 that you'll be able to manage ultimately.
That goes a long way to fixing all these messed up pieces.
Right.
Something to consider. Thank you.
And so if you flip to the next page, the 3 boxes, probably the more informative information, top box with respect to maintenance and operations. Last year, you levied 9 cents, which generated just under 711,000. This year, we're proposing 9.5 cents, which will generate just over 800,000. Parity rate, if you wanted to raise the same number of dollars you did last year, 8.41 cents. And then currently you need about 6 cents to balance your budget. So right now, if you were to levy 9.5 cents, you're looking at close to 300,000 in surplus this next budgetary year. Middle box with respect to tax bills. Last year's average homestead was just under 275,000, meaning your average tax bill was $687. This year's average homestead went up to 288,799, which means at the proposed 24-cent total tax rate, the average tax bill would have gone up $6 or 0.84 cents or percent. Sorry. And then the bottom box with respect to Senate Bill 2, you are still designated as a developing district. So what that means is if that 0.84% were to go above 8%, then if 10% of your residents in your district petition for a rollback election, you would have to hold that rollback election. And what the result of that would be is in that bottom box, bottom line, the 0.092535, that's your rollback rate. So if you were to have the election and it were to pass, then it would be rolled back to that rate. But because you're well below the 8%, it's not something that you would have to consider. So right now, if you look at your parity total rate, in the bottom box, second line, 23.8, so you're almost at parity. And this recommendation is showing a 1 penny decrease. So if you wanted to get to a decrease in tax bill, you would need to look at maybe another fraction of a penny, a quarter of a penny.
So the current tax rate is 9 cents.
The current total tax rate is 25 cents. Last year, it was 16 cents for debt service and 9 cents for maintenance and operations. And this year, we're recommending 9.5 cents for maintenance and operations and 14.5 cents for debt service, for a total of 24 cents, so a 1 penny decrease.
I'm gonna have to ask, can you explain the parity rate again, just a little bit, so I can understand that from a.
Yeah, so the total parity rate, or are you just talking, I don't want to confuse you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the total parity rate, if you wanted the average tax bill to be flat, then you would need to levy the parity rate. So that would bring you down to a flat tax rate based on the average homesteads.
Okay.
It's all based on the average homestead. So you individually, your bill may not be flat because if your appreciation went up the full 10%, if MCAD took your value up, then, this is just based on the average. And so right now you're reflecting a $6 increase. And like I said, if you were to drop it, you would need to drop it to the 23.8 for the average homestead to keep it flat.
Okay.
So just to go over this, and I'd imagine many people are thinking similar ideas as me. So the rate that you're saying the rollback has to be, as long as it's under 8%, then we're good,
Correct.
right? And we're at 7.04.
No, it's the increase in your tax bill. So if you look on that second page, middle box, you're at 0.84%. If that were to go above 8%.
Oh, gosh.
Yes,
Okay.
you're almost
Yeah,
at a flat tax.
That's
bill.
never going to happen.
Right.
Okay. So my concern, is that we have a lot of expensive things that Eric just discussed. And I always want to lower taxes. That's what I mentioned to the public whenever they elected me. And we've been able to do that for 4 or 5 years straight, which is fantastic. But I also don't want to lower it too much and then have to come back next year, whether I get elected or not, and say, hey, we lowered it, but now we have to pass a bond to then pay for millions of dollars worth of expenses due to rain and flood and this or that. So I like to do something in the middle. What is your thought?
It's completely up to you. I mean, I know staff would love as many pennies as you would give them on the maintenance and operations side because it will help beef up your surplus and it will help pay for those projects. And just keep in mind, I mean, this budget is showing about a $300,000 surplus. And next year, you're going to have a big slug that you'll be able to collect in your next fiscal budget that will be able to cover a lot of those projects.
There's
So
additional monies coming through next year.
Sean, I'll tell you that when we went through the draft of this budget,
Uh-huh.
a lot of districts, the recommendation is to go full 3.5 if you're a developed district. I don't know if we have any, you're hitting up to 8%. But this district, your financial position is very strong. You've got for 3 months reserve right now already. You're going to add to that with this. And you've got the debt cliff that Adam mentioned that you're going to be able to generate more revenue next year, that everyone felt comfortable with the recommendation of virtually parity, hair over parity in this district because of those other structural issues. The reserve that you already have, the debt cliff that is coming up, and the fact that this budget is still adding to that surplus.
I mean, how many pennies are we talking about coming off the cliff next year?
9
Nine.
with no growth.
I mean, just talking out loud. I mean, you could still reduce taxes next year and increase revenue.
Correct.
Significantly.
No, absolutely.
Significantly. And satisfy, talking about, scratching both sides of the coin, so to speak.
Mhm.
I mean, so,
I mean, yes, well, I want to make sure homeowners get the best value for their money for
Right.
living in our community. But I also want to make sure that the services continue to be quality moving forward. So I think this allows for both. Very comfortable.
I mean, this is a reduction,
Mhm.
to be clear.
Yeah.
We're the net of,
I'm just curious about the repairs to the ditches and other big expenses that we're gonna have, what do we need to be prepared for?
Yeah, from a ditch side, from a district side of things, I think our biggest expense, just specific to the district, is gonna be dealing with that drainage up in that corner, and that could be in the millions, 2 or 3 million, probably, somewhere in that range. But then, of course, you have your shares for the AC projects and whatever occurs with the treatment plant, and how you're gonna fund that. So I'm not sure that, and those projects are big enough that I'm not sure that you would be able to cash fund throughout that 10 years. But you could put a dent in it with some cash and buy yourself some time while you're continuing to grow some revenue to maybe cash fund your next, product. So you are in a position where you could get fairly far into the next decade with all these projects coming around, by using cash.
I think
Probably
everyone,
wouldn't get all the way there, but
I think everyone would really appreciate that. Everyone, as far as the residents, I mean, their costs have gone up from inflation over the last couple of years. Those costs have not come down. And they would really appreciate making sure that, yes, their water rate or their tax comes down slightly again, that they're already used to. And the fact that we then built up a nice, comfortable savings account to then take care of the projects that we foresee coming. I mean, that's the whole purpose of us being in this room, is to have financial foresight over the community that they trusted us in doing. So, yeah, I think if we can lower the rate a little bit now and do that, that'd be great. And then we'll deal with next year as it comes. I don't know how much to lower it though. Can you cover that one more time? So
Yeah, I mean, the one way to think of it is I'm proposing a 1 penny decrease. So it equates to $84,527 to your budget. So if you were to do a half a penny, it would only give you another 40 grand back to your budget.
A penny is $29 to the taxpayer, if I'm reading this right.
Correct.
recognize too that the taxpayers are hypersensitive to the fact that we're lowering a tax rate.
Right.
But they're also saying, yeah, but my homestead
Mhm.
was jacked by the appraisal district.
literally in 1,000 comments on Facebook.
Yeah, so
Was,
we're super sensitive to the fact that, we're reducing your tax, but I don't have control over how the valuation of your
Yeah.
home was assessed.
Correct.
So I think we do need to be sensitive to that, fact and
Mhm.
not exacerbate the problem. My question too is, we're going to talk about, like, there's some options around Bear Branch and some things and some contributions from the MUDs. Is that part of the,
Not
Not in the
very much.
budget.
okay, because that's hundreds of thousands of dollars at the budget.
Depends.
Right. Well, we'll talk about that more. I just wanted to make sure that was not.
so for today's conversation, you said we don't have to make a decision. We're just publicizing.
You're publishing the highest rate you'll consider.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think we would go up.
You
No.
can come down from
Yeah.
it next month. So if you weren't sure you wanted to go all the way to 24 and you wanted to publish 24 and a half, or if you wanted to
I
still
would like
publish
to have
25,
today's
but
conversation to know how much we're gonna potentially be able to come down based upon Bear Branch and some of the other things that are going on. To have a little bit more information over the next month would be very beneficial to not put ourselves in a corner.
just keep in mind, whatever you publish, your residents will see the publication, so that may have an influence as well.
I mean, that's fine. They'll
Well, we're-
also see their receipt at the end of the year when it's lower.
Right.
So.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's easy. So this is the hypothetical, this is the actual.
Right.
Okay,
So as far as today, we just need to agree that we're comfortable with publishing the threshold, the maximum
Correct.
24%, 24 cents.
Any questions?
So if there's any desire to potentially go over that, then
Which we have within our means because we're way under right
You're,
now.
you're at 25 right now, so if you want to publish 25, what is your current rate? And then come down next month if you're comfortable with it, the extra penny, you can do that. I would not recommend publishing 24 if you think there's a consideration that you may go up.
Yeah.
To 24 and a half or 25.
All right. Any thoughts on the left side?
No, I'm just like you, I just think what the residents are gonna say, I think we should.
I think
That way,
it's,
if we can come down, we come down, they look at it, so it's a win.
I mean, it's better to say, hey, we wanted to get through based upon the order of the agenda
Yeah.
to look at everything so we can make an informed decision, which is what we're on this board to do.
Yeah.
We are not hasty to lower the tax rate, but we do envision that it will go down. We think it more than likely will probably come down 1 cent and potentially 9 cents next year. But as responsible people, we wanted to make sure that we saw the entire agenda and discussed everything before we locked something in. So I think my opinion is to publish the current rate and have the ability to come down versus being eager beaver to
They're not gonna want to go up.
no.
No one wants to go above 25.
No.
On record.
No.
I prefer to maintain maximum flexibility at this point.
Right.
Yeah, there's just too much as far as the maintenance goes that is so unknown.
Okay, so.
Okay. All right, so can I get a motion to Brian, do I motion to accept?
Publish a tax rate, intended tax rate, not to exceed 25 cents, and that to be published in the newspaper and journal circulation.
He said.
Can I get a motion to publish the tax rate not to exceed 25 cents in the communication, in the newspaper, in publications?
I so motion.
Second.
All four? All in favor? All in favor, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, thank you.
Thanks for.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see this day start to come because we've been looking at this drop for like 5 years, almost 4 years now. And knew that these projects were coming the whole time. And it's almost hitting a line in the road.
Perfectly.
Hopefully. All right, number 12, receive the regular monthly SGRA Woodlands Division report.
Reports on page 18 in your packet. No violations, nothing out of the ordinary. I know you have a lot on your agenda, so I have nothing to add, but answer any questions you have.
Yeah, I reviewed this before. I don't have any.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you, Chris.
Anything? Yeah. All right, 13, discuss and or act on water line renewal plan and analysis completed by HGR engineers.
And this is just on everybody's agenda to give you the opportunity, just to update you that trustees unanimously voted to moving forward with the redesign of town center and easement acquisition for town center. So that's moving forward. And then, there's remaining 6 projects that are kind of up in the air as to when they'll kind of where in the 10-year plan that we put. A couple of directors still have a few questions we're sorting through, and then we'll likely meet up here in the next few weeks and sort out the last remaining details that they've got. And then we should be able to, the bud should be able to get direction to the to SRA so that the project can be properly placed into the 10-year plan, their 10-year plan. Once that happens, then we can start looking at the financials and figure out, okay, when are we gonna need what money and how we're gonna pay for it? And answer those questions like, okay, do we have cash or not in year 4, 6, whatever. That'll allow us to kind of do those financial models.
Do you think we'll have any of that by next month?
I heard October when I listened to the.
Yeah, well, they need direction by November 1, so at the very last, it needs to be October, but I think we can get there possibly in September.
That'd be extremely helpful.
Yeah.
If you could.
I mean,
Thank you.
I'd just like to see a 10-year plan. Continuing to kick the can.
Well, the struggle is there's kind of some argument on where the projects should be placed. So that's still pending. Until we can get past those questions, we really can't do very much fine-tuned planning for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I watched the recording, watched the meeting, and vigorous debate about how to approach open questions in some people's minds and others feeling like we've done our due diligence. We paid a lot of money, in excess of $4 million to date on studies and things. Even some innovative approaches to new tranches of kind of 5-year kind of rolling plans and things. So anxious to see this come to fruition and culmination. So
Agreed.
All right. Well, it doesn't sound like we have anything to act on. We'll go to number 14. Discuss and/or act on the Bear Branch Dam modification project, spillway reconstruction, and dam safety assessment. All right, let's dive in.
Right. I'll get it started and then I'll kick it to Brett Rayleigh with SJRA. And recognizing that this is somewhat foreign, although I heard a couple of y'all mention it, so y'all are hearing things, that's good. The Bear Branch, Panther Branch drainage region, and including the dam and the reservoir there off Kirkendall, are all in responsibility of operation and maintenance of 5 MUDs that were placed in that role in 1999. Those particular districts, some of their drainage goes to that drainage area. On late July 21st, I think it was, actually many months ago, SJRA started an analysis with an engineering firm that specializes in dams to assess and give recommendations on the dam itself. They came back, and on July 21st, the stakeholder MUDs, the 5 MUDs that are currently paying for operation maintenance of the reservoir and dam, heard that analysis. In that analysis, it was identified that the dam definitely needs some work. And so there's different portions of the dam, which that part I'll let Brett talk about. At the end of that meeting, there was a couple directors, both non-stakeholder and non-stakeholder, that expressed, why is it just the 5? Doesn't the dam benefit all of the woodlands, or doesn't the dam benefit other MUDs maybe? And the reality is it does. And so the question was, well, should some of the other MUDs consider to participate in some of this work? And so that has led to us putting it on the agendas for each of the MUDs to kind of hear what the stakeholder MUDs know. And we'll give you a little bit of a brief abbreviated summary of the Schnabel report, and then kind of talk about some of the numbers, and then we can talk about some of the philosophy on it. So
Just from my understanding, it's 46, 47, 60, and 67. What's the 5th MUD that's part of this?
7.
7.
Yeah. And then this week, and then this week, both Metro and Med One both made motions to proceed with their interest in participating and helping, depending on what, the amounts are and apparatus and all that. But
that's the option too.
well, that's if all 10 months, correct.
Understood. That would be if it, based upon percentages, if everybody chips in, that would be, but they're saying we're willing to throw our hat in the ring. TBD what the cost will be, but let's keep that conversation. Okay.
Exactly right.
It would nearly wipe out most of our.
Yeah, so, well, and depending on, which MUDs are interested, we would then kind of go back and update that chart.
Yeah, because it could be
Figure
heavier.
out what the burn rate is, yeah. So I think with that, that's probably a good time to throw it to Brett.
Sure. Well, good afternoon. My name's Brett Rayleigh. I'm the Raw Water Enterprise Manager for SJRA. I report to Ed. I know you've seen Ed many, many times. One of my responsibilities is O&M of not only the Lake Conroe Dam, but as well as Bear Branch. So apparently everybody got the materials that Ed provided to the Google Drive. So you have some background on what we're talking about. And Eric just did a good job of teeing everything up. The Schnabel report was one step in a progression of us investigating some issues we've noticed at the dam or at the spillway for a long time. One thing that I wanted to differentiate, because Eric and others commonly say dam when we're referring to this project, and I just want to differentiate between what's at hand, which is the spillway, and the dam. So the dam is the larger full footprint that includes the earthen embankment, and the subject today is within the concrete area. That's the spillway. And within that, there's two spillways. So it's a lighter color that you see kind of within the bounds of the discharge channel. That's the service spillway. That's first engaged as water rises in the reservoir. And then everything beyond that going both directions is the emergency spillway. And that engages only at a certain point when the water surface elevation gets to a certain point. Yes, sir.
So a dam is the concrete and the grass section
Yes, sir.
all the way across left and right. The spillway is the concrete. Well, the larger piece is the emergency, and what was the term that you
The part
used?
in the middle is the service.
Service. Thank you.
And there's, and
Understood.
they use the term emergency, I apologize, in all the materials that you were given, they use the term auxiliary, those two.
Service and
terms are
auxiliary.
interchangeable.
Understood. I just want to make sure I understand the terms. Thank you.
So in the, originally, we had an engineer prior to Schnabel recommend, because of some issues that we found, voids and deteriorated joints and spalling and different things, recommended that we replace that service spillway. So we went out for a request for qualifications. We ended up with Schnabel, who we have great faith in, to design a replacement of that service spillway. And of course, they did so. They came back and gave us 3 different options for how to do that. But they also informed us that it's their opinion, their strong opinion, that we need to replace the entire spillway, the auxiliary spillway and the service spillway.
And this dam and spillway is what holds back Lake Woodlands?
No, but I'm gonna get there. So I'm glad you went there. So to back up kind of to what Eric said, the dam was built in 1983 and it's part of the larger Woodlands stormwater management plan. And so this handles drainage on Panther Branch from 1488 down to just downstream of Gosling, from Alden Bridge Road to Panther Branch along Alden Branch, and then from Bear Branch down to the confluence with Panther Branch. So the whole system starts at the reservoir, which provides detention. There's the dam, which impounds, and then there's all these flowage ways that flow all the way down to just downstream of Gosling. So that whole thing is what's referred to as the system. It's maintenance of the system that those 5 MUDs pay SJRA to do. And so now we're faced with this major project. And so at the meeting we had on July 21st to discuss with the 5 MUDs what their contribution to this major project would be, depending on which way we went, the question was raised at that meeting. Well, doesn't this affect more than just the 5 MUDs because of the nature? So getting back to your question, it only impounds Bear Branch. But one of the things that's most significant about the Schnabel report is that in the event of a breach of that dam, which is what we're trying to prevent with it would overtop Lake Woodlands Dam and cause a failure of that dam. So it's a cascading dam failure. And in between the two, there's the water surface elevation will overtop major thoroughfares. It's going to have many impacts. A full breach would have many impacts between here and Lake Woodlands Dam. So that's the reasoning for the question that was brought up, isn't this more impactful? So that's what's at your place. The numbers are, they gave us they broke it up into 2 phases. What would it cost to do the service spillway? What would it cost to do the auxiliary spillway? What would be the cost of the whole package to replace what they're suggesting? And so it was $14 million in total for the whole thing. And, but we did, during the early phases, when we first engaged Schnabel to design the service spillway, we applied for and were awarded $3.6 million through federal funds through Representative Crenshaw that's administered through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And the 5 MUDs also made initial contribution to preliminary engineering. So there's an R&R account, a repair and replacement fund account that still has some funds in it from that initial funding. And there's still money left in the core contract that will be dispersed as it's spent over time. But for this larger project, there's a deficit. So we applied once again this year for $5 million of federal funding through Representative Crenshaw's office. And it has made it into an appropriations bill. And if the federal budget is approved, it will get approved. And so that would leave a deficit for the whole project between the previous core funds, the MUD's contributions, the new core funds. It would leave a deficit of about $4.8 million. And so, if nothing else is shared, then those 5 MUDs have to cover the cost of that 4.8. And they're just throwing it out there for every other MUD's consideration. What this idea is of, it does potentially have an impact to all of the Woodlands.
The timeline. I mean, based on the Schnabel report, is this if we don't repair this by X, we're in trouble? I mean, there already is concern. I'm just trying to, the immediacy.
It's been asked many times and I wish I had a direct answer. I don't. As they recommend we do it immediately. In fact, in their report, it says immediately. The recommendation is immediately. So as soon as we can.
I have maybe a point and a question. I don't want to get too opinionated, but the portion for 39 is $275,000 based on option 2. And I mean, based on our budget, I guess worst case scenario, that is something we could handle. It's like your roof collapsing in your house. Like, we have the savings account to handle it. We could. It would not be pleasant. It'd be rather unpleasant. But we could if we needed to, if we had to step up. I'd like to find an alternative to certainly ease the burden. Because again, if all that happens, 39 is still quote unquote high and dry, right? So I don't want to be cruel. I want to be participate in the community because we're already helping with water lines and water filtration for things that don't necessarily affect our MUD anyways. But being a younger MUD, our turn will come potentially when my kids are my age. So we want to participate and help for the future as well. And I know those are conversations that everyone is having in their mind probably right now. So my question is, based upon option 2, how are the percentages created? The MUD percentages?
Just based on connections.
Okay, so would it be possible to recalibrate that based upon a heavier weighting for the 5 primary MUDs?
Theirs is really heavily weighted.
I mean, it's already heavily weighted because they have more connections and they're bigger than us anyways. But this is kind of their baby that they've
that's
known about for a while.
that chart was just a way to depict what based on connections pro rata would look like. The non-stakeholder MUDs that are not currently active in it could come up with any number, quite frankly.
Okay.
And then the others would be forced to, prorate the rest of what's left. So if a district, wanted to do less than, the prescribed proration.
Worst case scenario for MUD 39 is 5.67% if everyone participates.
If everyone.
Right.
At this level.
So
I mean,
what is
it's
the
going to be
current?
affected by other MUDs that don't participate. If we say we were going to participate and others say they don't, then our percentage
It's
goes
going to
up.
be a domino effect.
Unless you cap it, or we come up with whatever kind of formula that we are willing to absorb. I mean, I think this is a conversation to say, are we amenable to chipping in to help? To what degree? I think it's TBD. I think, I think basing it purely off connections is a little bit skewed because we are, if not the smallest, one of the smallest MUDs. And so we don't have the revenue the others do. And so I don't know that it's a direct corollary to your point about the map and stuff, but
Yeah, definitely on the map. This is sixth meeting of the week. It's been a lot of dialogue back and forth, both from stakeholder muds and non-stakeholder muds. And
What's the general opinion on non-stakeholders?
2 for 2 so far going forward, as much as they, I think, can. But they want to look at the numbers. There was discussion about 39. There is a portion of 39 that actually flows into the drainage area, which is tiny.
The little one north.
Right. And then it was pointed out, because I had pointed out, well, the majority of 39 is not impacted like you mentioned. And then there was a response to say, but your schools are, because Powell's right in the middle of the floodway of that tragic deal.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of-
They're gonna make a connection one way or another.
Well, I mean, that primarily affects me.
Yeah, it does.
Well, Walmart is connected and some of us shop there, so.
Yeah.
So, but at any rate, it was originally contemplated in the O&M contract that those to take specifically contributing flow to it would share the cost of maintenance. The interesting thing that others have pointed out is it was built when most of the major stakeholders didn't exist. So theoretically, it was built to protect the now non-stakeholders, 36, 36, some of the ones downstream. So there's a lot of, ultimately, the construction of that likely reduced the amount of detention that would have been built all over the other muds. Pockets. It was all independent, kind of like the same idea about your water plants and sewer plants.
Yeah,
If you were all independent, we'd all build our own.
yeah.
So same thing with detention ponds. So which would have reduced your tactical value by reducing your developable acreage.
Yeah.
So it all ties together. The Woodlands is a master plan, so it was all built together.
Well, that's why my first comment was, we can't afford it if we had to. But it just wouldn't be pleasant.
major project coming up.
Yeah, and there's no one chipping in for that project.
True.
Are there more questions for me? It was just
Thank you,
for
sir.
you
No,
to consider.
last question. I mean, so this is a next year, put shovels in the dirt. I mean, what are we doing? When do we think?
We would expect that we would have the funds would be dispersed in next spring, late
Okay.
next spring.
Certainly contingent
Which,
upon.
and that will start with engineering,
Yeah. The major funds wouldn't be probably needed till 2027.
Yeah, I think construction would start in sometime in 27.
This wouldn't go in this year's budget.
This is what I'm asking, guys, because when you think about Death Cliff coming off and other opportunities,
Yep.
we are afforded some flexibility to be a little more magnanimous than we might otherwise be and just kind of prioritize and see what that looks like. What's the next steps as far as conversation or coordinating or think? So do we have to make a decision if we're in or out today?
It would be helpful just so we could run some additional numbers. Doesn't mean it commits you. So one of the muds said, we're interested, we just want to see the numbers. So it might be that you just make a motion to ask us to come up with, some potential numbers based on the final number count of which districts are interested. If there's a district out there that just says, because there may be a district out there that says, I'd love to, but I don't have a dime to this. I just physically don't have it. And that may be the case. So whether you want to or not, some may not be able to.
I know we have a major project coming up with our ditch repair, and I have to question whether any of the other muds have a project of that size that they're also facing. And I don't know that there are. I mean, I know we have some joint projects.
You look at this, that some of them have some significant stuff. You were lucky, I think, on the ditch side of things, other than the big project.
The big project.
That probably equates all the other work that some of them are doing, but.
We have less cash flow than they do.
You're about in the middle.
So I think my opinion would be more clarity on financials with an option to back out or adjust depending on financial feasibility.
Clearly, I mean, I think we're if we're throwing our hat in the ring, it's qualified to a degree. We don't know numbers. We're not writing a check today with any kind of a dollar amount in it. We could decide to withdraw. I mean, we could decide that we're the only third mud that's agreed to come in, and we can't absorb $700,000 of our prorated share to offset. So
I'm open to consider.
I'm open to consider it. I'm open to listen to if it makes sense and there's a way for us to help and it doesn't prostrate us in a way that prevents us from being self-sufficient as a mud for the things that we have on our plate as well, because that's my part. I'm not here to, I'm not a, director for Mud 60 or other ones. So I've got to take care of 39, but I'm willing to consider it to whatever degree that doesn't lock us into a commitment, if that makes sense. I don't know how we craft that as a motion or
Well,
a motion of good intent. I don't know. I mean,
well, that's, the wording that someone would have to put together, but,
I'm less inclined.
I understand.
I mean, if there is a motion, you could make it somewhat to the extent of that, to direct staff to work on a cost allocation that would potentially include MUD 39, but at a, lower participation rate than what was presented, and leave it at that for now. Because I mean, I think what I'm gathering from this group is whatever that metric is, it's not going to be connection. If that metric puts your share too high, and of course, if one that drops out, then that gets higher. So I think you're leaving flexibility. You're directing staff to work on a cost allocation that would include MUD 39, but not at the an allocation based on connections.
Yeah, and
So
someone
leave it
said
flexible.
700,000, this says 275.
Oh, no.
Clarify.
I was saying, if we're on one of three additional muds that throw our hat in the ring, that 200 grand becomes 600, 700, 800 or something. If we're offsetting what the other ones aren't. And I also want to make sure you guys, the director, if you feel viscerally that this should be a non-starter, vote no on this motion. Go on the record. Say you don't think we should even be considering this. This is not, if you dig in, I want you to, that voice is important to hear.
Well, I think since Powell is part of, but is part of it, and that's part of us, I think that we should put something in.
I mean, based upon
consider.
what the school district does and new elementary's getting built, by the time this thing's even built, our children may not even go to PAL. Based upon the 12 options they gave us last year on the elementary.
Oh, but we were just railing against 10-year plans not coming into focus sooner than.
I think we can come in at a later date and contribute if it is so needed, or we want to do that later. But right now, I'd be more inclined to focus on our own needs that we have with our big project coming up.
I'm with Keith. I think we need to focus on ourselves. I feel bad not, contributing because I get it, but I don't know.
I mean, not contributing the whole amount, but
So why don't I make a motion? Why don't I make a motion that I'm going to move that MUD 39 would be open to considering contribution, but would like to understand a more equitable or a more, how do we define it? Allocation of what that might look like. I want to know the numbers before we commit to actually.
Direct staff to provide you with a recommended allocation for MUD 39, or a recommended cost contribution for MUD 39. And then you can take it up or down vote on that.
There we go. I would like to make a motion that I would direct the staff of Woodlands Water to help us with a recommendation on what MUD 39 allocation might look like to support this project.
I second.
That's pretty non-committal though, right?
I mean, it's very non-committal. It's about as gray as it gets.
Okay. That's so great that I'm not sure what we're.
So we have a
So,
motion, we have a
Aye.
second.
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Look forward to the information. $15. Oh, You're right, maybe an hour and a half. 16, consider and act on pay allocation, or application number 1 for the retail wastewater collection system rehabilitation year 2.
So you're one of 9 months that participated in the sanitary sewer rehabilitation project that started earlier this year. This is the first payout for that. You do not have any specific work in this particular first 45 days in this app, so there's no expense this month, but want to start putting it on all the agendas because there's going to be a pay app every month for the work done by the contractor, and there will be working 39 during the project. So no action today.
So no authorization needed today.
Correct.
All right, thanks, sir. Brian, received the attorney's report.
Keep it brief. The second call section has begun. It's pretty much the same as the first in terms of the list of items. Don't expect much to get done in this special session besides redistricting and maybe some stuff related to the Hill Country flooding, but there'll probably be more called sessions, but we'll monitor it for now. But I would be surprised if this next 30 days does anything besides redistricting and maybe some action related to the Hill Country. That's all I have.
We have a quorum back now, right?
Do I now?
Yes. We have a quorum. They're debating on the floor right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our traveling representatives have come home.
Traveling representatives, I like that.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
17, consider adoption of resolution concerning developed district status for 2025 tax year.
Yeah, we already talked about this in connection with your budget. You remain a developing district. You need a motion to adopt the list.
Thank you, sir. 18, discuss and or,
Motion on
We do.
those.
oh. We need a motion on 17.
Yes, to adopt the resolution, confirm that you're developing for 2025.
Can I get a motion for us adopting that we are a developing district for 2025?
So motioned.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
18,
19, receive and or act on the engineer's report, including authorize or ratify the design advertisements for bids and or award of contracts or concurrence in the award of contracts for the construction of facilities within the district, including number 1, the Woodlands Village of Sterling Ridge West, FM 2978 detention period. Number 2, the Woodlands Village of Sterling Ridge, FM 2978 lift station. And then B and C.
Yes, I'm Michael Crackmeyer, LJ, no action, so really no report. No, just give a quick update on item number 1 for the detention pond. We have conditional approval from the county. What we're working with right now is with the precinct with a shared detention with them. So that agreement should be squared away later this week. So we're looking to advertise later this month, next month. You guys took action last month on giving us a green light on that. So hopefully bid opening, it'll probably be after the September MUD meeting. So we'll look for you guys' approval at the October meeting. And then for the lift station, we're just in the early design phase. That's all we got.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In that item too, I just want to give you an update, and we're going to put it specifically on the agenda next month, but met with LJ a couple of weeks ago, and there is possible development that has interest in a tract of land on the feeder north of Harper's Line Boulevard in the Howard Hughes land that's north of CS. Be I think a dealership type arranged situation. So there's some water and sewer extensions that are going to be needed for that.
Okay.
And so they're working on that right now, and just looking at the preliminary layout, I saw maybe some potential or some benefit that the district might have in extending that line and looping it into your existing system. So we'll bring all that back to you next month, but I wanted to give you a heads up that there's some movement behind the scenes going on that. And we'll cover it in more detail. I just knew with the budget, there's a lot going on this month, so.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some stuff coming.
I like the idea of proactively leveraging development to increase infrastructure or redundancy or other things.
So do I. I really serious. Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. But
They're gonna have to find a new place to live.
Yeah, we
Yes, they
actually
will.
talked about that, a good bit, so. Working.
We'll give them that one way or the other.
Thank you. All right, 20, receive and act on general manager's report.
Okay, we've covered most of the stuff. I just want a couple updates. Reminder on the Lone Star Groundwater Conservation District meetings coming up September 17th and 18th. The GMA 14 on the 17th and then the mud information meeting on the 18th. Look out for those. Give you an update on the SFDUE study related to wastewater treatment plant number 1. We are continuing to work on that. We should be hopefully wrapping it up in the next month or so. So more to come on that. Want to let you know that was invited to speak on a township item that they put on their agenda related to access in the midst of flooding. And so there's a project that actually the same stakeholder group that handles that we talked about earlier is involved in another drainage improvement project that's going to facilitate opening up research on these big flood events. Whereas they'll, often have 3 feet of water and it's impassable. So I'll be kind of talking to the township a little bit about that and a little bit about the dam as well, just to give them an update. And I think it came out of fear from the Kerrville flood and, how are we doing, if that happens to us type of thing. It's why it's on the agenda. And so I think SDRA is going to talk about a different drainage project and I'm going to talk about those things. So, and then last thing I had was kick it to John for communications update.
Good afternoon, page 68 for your communications report. Infrastructure renewal communications, we're chugging along there. We can make progress. We've got an element being added to the website soon, which is going to be a GIS-based interactive map. Folks can see where these projects are occurring, where the impacts might be. We have a renewal video in the works. We got a sneak preview for some of it. It's a great start. Right now, we're finishing up interviews of a variety of folks that will weave into that video. So it's a good primer for folks on why we're doing this or why it matters to the community. And then we can pull segments of that out and make short reels, use our social media stuff, make good hay of it. You should see that probably by the next time we meet, we should have that out. So videos, if you haven't seen them yet, SGRA just produced or they produce them and then they're in process of distributing 60 different videos surrounding the 50th anniversary. So they've got interviews with all kinds of folks from the community, folks that were here working with Mitchell from the beginning, folks like Eric and others that are deeply involved in the water system today. Lots of great insights, lots of great history. So check that out. You can go to their YouTube page for the full list. We're sharing it. So you can go to our Facebook page and find it there as well. Being a working group, active infrastructure renewal. We have our 6th meeting tentatively planned for the 10th. We're trying to nail down HDR's HDR folks to give that presentation. We got to make sure that works for them, that schedule. If we can't get it on the 10th, it'll happen shortly thereafter. So yeah, they'll be hearing about the water line assessment. If you want to see the actual presentation that Schnabel provided to the 5 MUDs on Bear Branch Dam, we have that on our YouTube page. So you can see that full recording there. You can QR it too if you want to watch it on your phone. For marketing materials, the next couple pages, and just noting on page 71, our outreach calendar is beginning to fill out for the fall. And the next event will be the farmers market. We'll be out there this Saturday. Any questions? Thank you.
21, receive the Woodlands Water Trustees report, sir.
I have nothing more to add other than what's in your report. And then Eric touched on a couple of things about the pipe replacement already earlier in the conversation.
Wonderful. Anyone, any questions?
Yeah,
All right.
good.
22, recess. I don't think we need a recess. All right, reconvene. And matters for future agenda. Okay, 25, adjourn.